Welcome to the wonderful world of 3D designing. We are going to use a special website that is free called Tinkercad to do this. In Schoology in our STEM course, you should be in the right folder and you should have already read the Read First section. So now we're going to click on this link called Tinkercad Sign In. In blue here, it will show you a link to your specific class. But then below it, it says that we're going to enter our nickname assigned by Mr. Hubbard. Now, your nickname is really simple. It's your same username that you use to log into your Chromebook, but if you're one of those students who has numbers at the end, you'll just get rid of the numbers. So for example, a 5th grader named John Smith would simply be 27J Smith. We'll click on the link. It's going to take us to a special class page in Tinkercad. This one is for quarter 4, the 4th quarter that we're in, period 2, 5th grade, and it's Mr. Hubbard's class. And it asks you to type in your nickname. You don't have to so much worry about this right here. Just make sure you type in your nickname. So, Jason Hubbard, I'm going to type in 27J Hubbard. That's me, and it should sign me in no problem. One quick special thing to note. If you click that Tinkercad link and you sign in and you see designs from maybe a previous class that you've had at Hall Prairie in which you've designed some things, what you're going to need to do is go up to this profile icon in the corner, click Log Out, and then just go ahead and close this tab altogether. Back at Schoology then, go ahead and click this link one more time. Then you're going to sign in with your nickname and you should be in good shape. You want to make sure that you're starting absolutely fresh and you have no designs. That's how we'll make sure that you're in the correct class in Tinkercad. You'll see this blue button right here, which is probably the most important. We're going to create a new design today, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks of the pros to get you started. Let's dive into a brand new design. So Tinkercad is CAD software. CAD stands for Computer Aided Design. In other words, we're going to use our computer to aid us in designing something. And let's take a look at all of the amazing shapes that you have accessible to you. Here's a tray of them over here on the right. And we just simply use our trackpad or a mouse, click and drag the shapes out that we want. We're going to take a look at how to change and morph these shapes later, how to stack them, how to join them together. But for now, just take some time and explore all the shapes. We've got text. We have scribble. I wonder what that does. We have some other shapes here that have these kind of lines on them. We're going to use those later. But look at this. There's all kinds of other menu choices and some really cool things that you're going to definitely want to explore and play around with. Okay, and don't be afraid to try new things. For example, this text ring, that's pretty cool. Try it out, check it out for yourself, and see what kinds of things you can click on and do that might be really cool. You never know what you might learn today. Deleting shapes is super simple. You just click on the shape and then press the backspace key on your keyboard. Just like that. In 3D designing, you have to be able to move your camera around so you can see things from different angles, and you need to do this often. There are a couple ways to do this. One of them is to use this view cube in the corner, which you can click and drag to change your view. Also, if you just click on a certain part of the view cube, you can look at it from all kinds of different angles. But my favorite way is using a keyboard shortcut. That is, use a key on the keyboard along with your trackpad, and you can do things a little bit easier. So if you look on your keyboard in the lower left-hand corner, you'll find the Control key. If you hold down the Control key, then click and drag your mouse or trackpad, you'll be able to drag around your work plane, just like using the view cube. And this is very, very helpful. You'll also notice that zooming in and zooming out, you can use the plus and minus sign here. But another kind of shortcut is to use your trackpad. And if you take 2 fingers on your trackpad and you don't actually press and click on your trackpad, but you just very gently swipe up or down, you will zoom in and out. So control, click and drag, zooming in and out is going to let you see exactly what you need to see. Now we're going to learn how to change the size of shapes, and we're also going to learn how to copy and paste the same shape. So first, let's take a look at our cube here. Okay, as we kind of face our cube head on, if we hover over any of these little dots, I'll call them the white square dots and the black square dots, we see some measurements. You see, in Tinkercad, the measurement is millimeters. So this cube is 20 millimeters across, 20 millimeters deep, and it's also 20 millimeters tall. So 20 by 20 by 20. But we can change that by clicking and dragging any one of these square dots. The black square dot will only change one side of this shape. So our cube can become kind of like a tall brick wall, maybe. Notice how it just stretches out one side. We can do that on any one of these sides. If we click and drag a white square dot, it actually scales 2 of the sides at a time, and not just one. Now, you notice these measurements here. You can also click inside of one of those boxes, type a number, and you can scale shapes exactly how you want them to be scaled. So now we're back to our 20 by 20 by 20. Okay, notice also there's these arrows that allow us to rotate and spin our shape. Now, in order to copy a shape and paste more of it, there's several ways to do this. So, using a keyboard shortcut, if we hold down the Control key and press the letter C, Control C, many of you probably know how to do this, then press Control V, we will paste a shape exactly like it. This is very, very handy for duplicating a shape multiple times. Once you Control C one time, you're in pretty good shape to just Control V, Control V, Control V. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these extras. I want to show you another way to copy and paste in Tinkercad that is way, way more fun. This one is called duplicating. So let's have a little fun with this sphere here. Let's go ahead and make it orange, and let's go ahead and just change the height to 30. Okay, so it kind of looks more like an egg shape. Okay, now watch this. If I click on the shape and use the shortcut Control D, Control D means duplicate. Then if I click and drag the shape, I have a shape within a shape. But here's what's really cool about Tinkercad. It does what we call a smart duplicate feature. Okay? So if I press Control D again, it duplicates another of these orange egg shapes, but it's exactly the same distance away as the first one I dragged out. Here's where this makes it a smart kind of way to copy and paste. Let's start this all over again. If I click on this orange egg and I press Control D, remember that my duplicate shape is in here. I'm going to drag it out just a little bit. And then I'm also going to turn it just a little bit. Now, if I don't do anything else, if I don't click on any other shapes at all, but I stay right here and I press Control D again, it's going to duplicate another one exactly pulled out the same amount, but it's not going to do that from the original shape here. It's going to do it from the duplicate. And it also is rotating it. So if I keep pressing Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D, we now have a pumpkin. So you can see that copying and pasting and scaling can let us take a simple shape like this and actually change it into something that's more complex. Have some fun playing around with that. Raising and lowering shapes in Tinkercad is super simple. So let's say we want to put a green stem on top of this pumpkin here. Think about the stem shape. We could use a cylinder like this. Let's scale it down. So if we click on the corner here, and let's see what a 7 by 7 cylinder looks like. That's pretty good. And then we'll just go ahead and drag the height to lower it a little bit. Let's change it to the color green. Okay, but we want to put it on top of our pumpkin here. Okay? When you click on a shape, if you take a close look, there's this tiny little black cone above the shape. If you click and drag that, you will raise above the workplane surface. And don't forget to change your camera angles often so that you can see things from different angles. And that's how you raise and lower a shape above the workplane. Let's learn how to group shapes in Tinkercad. So let's say we have our pumpkin here, and we want to drag it away off to the side. If we try to do that though, these shapes are not grouped. Grouping shapes is simple. Get to a view, something like this. Then click and drag your trackpad, but be sure to only drag it around the shapes that are in your pumpkin or whatever it is you want to group. Now everything is selected. Right up here is the group button, or you can use the shortcut Control G to just simply group them quickly. Click on it, and now all of these shapes are joined together in a group so that they're kind of stuck together. Notice how it changed all of our shapes to one color. If we go to the color menu right here and we choose multicolor, everything goes back to its original color, but it's all one group. It's all one shape. Creating holes in Tinkercad is a really amazing skill. Let's say that we want to take this shape here, this yellow cylinder, and let's say that we want to make it hollowed out, kind of like a cup. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag out an identical cylinder, but up here in the menu, I'm going to click on this one to change it to a hole. Okay, so notice that this cylinder and this cylinder, though, are the exact same size. They are 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters, both of them. Okay, so what we want to do is scale this one slightly down. So let's make it 18 millimeters by 18 millimeters, and we'll leave the height at 20 millimeters. If we put this shape inside of this shape, okay, so you can kind of get a preview of what that's going to do. Then let's use what we learned about grouping. Click and drag around both of these shapes to select them both and press the group tool. Voila! When you group a hole shape with a solid shape, it's going to cut away the hole shape part. So you can use this in all kinds of different ways. Let's say that you're trying to make a house, for example, and we'll bring out a roof and we'll raise that roof up. Remember to always change your camera angles just to make sure that you're right where you want to be. But let's say that we wanted to cut a doorway through this house. Let's take another box. Let's make it a hole shape. And then let's scale it down to be more of a door size. Okay. And let's say we want to place it right there on our house. Okay. Now, it's only going through the front right now, but let's say that we take this shape and we extend it so that it goes through both sides of the house, just like that. Now, let's go ahead and drag a box around everything to select it all. Let's click Group, and there you have it. We have a doorway that goes all the way through our house. Don't forget you can click on the color tool, choose multicolor, and you have your original colors, but everything is grouped. So that's just a quick lesson in how to create holes. Use them in some really cool ways, like this. Let's take another box and let's make it a hole shape, but this time let's turn it 45 degrees. Now watch what happens if we drag a box around these and group them. Notice how it carves away the corner of our house. Okay? So it makes kind of like a chamfered edge to it. So try exploring with the shapes and playing around with making shapes a whole, group them with solids, and see if you can create your own shapes that are pretty cool. Let's talk about work planes. So what I'm going to do is try to make a die. Obviously when you're playing board games you call these dice, but that's when you have more than one. So I'm going to start with one, and let's say that I want to place a number on the side of the die. So I'll go to my text and numbers here, go to the second page, there we go, and let's start with the number 1. Now I want the number 1 to be on this side of my die. But it's a little bit tricky because it came out in this orientation. So I would have to perfectly rotate it 90 degrees, and I'd have to put it on the side of my die, which means I need to lift it up, and you get the idea. It's a little bit tricky. But let's use a work plane to help us. A work plane, kind of like this big blue work plane down here, is our work surface. We can change it at any time by dragging this to any surface or side of our shape. When you let go of the trackpad, just like that, now we can see we have the work surface on the side of our dice. Okay, so really simple. If I click and drag this work plane down here, now it resets the work plane. So again, just grab this guy, click and drag it to the surface you want to be on. Now you're working on the side of your dice. Watch this. Drag the number 1 out now, and voila, we have the 1 facing exactly the same way, so it's in perfect shape for us to put it on the side of our die. Now watch this. Let's say we want to sink it into our cube. Remember this little black cone that raises or lowers above the work plane? Click and drag that, and we can insert it a little bit like that. If you want, we can even make it a hole shape. Drag a box around it, group it, and now we have an indentation in the side of our die. Now, let's drag a new work plane over to here. Now we're on the other side of our cube, and let's drag a number 2. So you kind of get the idea. You can see how using work planes makes it really simple to put objects on the side of our shapes. Alright, it's time for one of my favorite things to show you, and that is keyboard shortcuts. These make your work so much easier in Tinkercad. The first one is holding down the control key. Control, and then click and drag, and it changes your view. I already went over this in camera controls, but it's a good one to know. Control, click and drag your trackpad or your mouse. Alright, the next one is the F key. By clicking on an object and pressing the letter F key on your keyboard, you will focus right in on that shape. So if we click on this house and press the F key, we focus right in on that. It's a super helpful way to very quickly hone in on something you want to work on. So if I click on my pumpkin, press F, there you go. The work plane. Okay, so we learned how to drag the work plane, but let's press the W key on our keyboard as a shortcut. Press W and you see how your mouse pointer has this special kind of a thing on it. Looks just like a work plane. Click on the surface you want, and now there's a work plane on top of my dice here. If I click and press F, I can focus in, Control, click and drag. Okay, so you can see how these keys and your trackpad or your mouse really helps you work. If I press W again, click on the side, now my work plane's on the side of the die. Click W again, click on this side, now I'm on that side. Click W one more time, and then click somewhere out here in open space, and we reset our work plane. So that's the W key. If you're interested in learning more keyboard shortcuts, I've put them in the free play folder. And if you scroll through these Tinkercad keyboard shortcuts, you'll find a whole bunch that you'll learn and love using. Well, there you have it. You've got everything you need. It's time to get started. Enjoy, have fun. Can't wait to see what kinds of things you'll make in Tinkercad.